Welcome to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast with Phil Graham. We help you master Facebook ads and give you an unfair advantage over your competition. Are you ready? Let's go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast, episode 421. And welcome to June. I can't believe it's already June. That's crazy. Today, I'm going to be talking about 5 Facebook and Instagram ad hooks that can stop the scroll. You can have the best product or the best service in the world, and even the best customer service and the best prices. But does it actually matter if your ads don't get noticed? I mean, it's good that you would have all that, but if people don't notice your ads, you're probably going to be screwed. The main thing I want to get across is a lot of times your hook or lack thereof can be the difference between potential failure or success, or even just somebody noticing your ad versus ignoring it. You've got to try and get this right. If you're not stopping the scroll in the first 3 seconds, you've probably already lost. And so today I want to talk about some hooks that I think are working really well, especially this year here in 2025, and things I think you can do to help people stop the scroll and pay attention to you, to your ad, to your business, to your product, and your service. So welcome to June, my friends. I hope you're doing amazing and having a great start to your summer. I'm glad you're here. I love educating you guys, especially since there's so many scammers out there and get-rich-quick idiots trying to screw you over. So as usual, I want to try and keep this episode short, sweet, and full of value and very actionable for you guys. Before we do jump into the content, though, if you really want some help with your ads, with your marketing, including with your AI as it relates to your business and marketing, for any of that stuff, you can go to my website, philgrahamdigital.com, or you can DM me on Instagram at philgrahamdigital. We can set up a short Zoom call, and I would love to connect with you. So I want to jump right in. Again, don't forget, doesn't matter how great your product or service is. If people don't know about it, then it doesn't matter to them. Let's start with what makes a great hook. How does it work? Well, great hooks interrupt the feed. They interrupt and stop the scroll. It could be visual, it could be emotional based off of what something says, or maybe even a combination of both. But as people are scrolling through like crazy, like they always do, a great hook can get an ideal customer or client to stop and pay attention. Great hooks can also sometimes create curiosity, and they also can align with whatever your customer or client's pain points are, or their challenges, or who they are as a person, their identity, or their goals, or what inspires them, or maybe even a combination of all of those things. So never forget that a great hook is usually about them, your customer, your client, your audience, and not about you. And remember, where is the hook? It's not just in the headline. It's also in your ad copy, like the first thing your ad copy says. If you're doing a video ad, it's the first 3 seconds of your video. The thumbnail of your video is also kind of like a hook. And if you have an image, whatever's in the image can act as a hook or not. So it's really important to get this hook stuff right, because if you don't, you're probably going to fail. So now that we know some of what makes a great hook work and where they are, let's talk about 5 types of hooks that I see working right now. Now, does that mean they always work and they work for everybody? No, of course not. You got to test different things for your situation. But these are 5 that I think can work in so many different situations and for so many different types of businesses, whether you're e-commerce, local, a course business, a product business, service, whatever the case may be. So let's jump into the 5. I really highly recommend you guys test these out, because these can be very effective and very powerful in a lot of situations. Start with number 1. I call it the call out hook. You're going to call out exactly who you're looking for. This can particularly help not only in segmented audiences, but especially in broader audiences where the targeting might not be as great. And there might be a lot of people in that audience who really aren't your ideal customers. But you can call them out in your ad, in your headline, in your ad copy, in a thumbnail or video. You know, if you were to call them out, you could say, hey, Seattle moms, this is for Seattle moms only, or for entrepreneurs only, or whatever the case may be. But you can call out who your ideal audience is, and literally that's part of your hook. What that gives you is instant relevance. If that's who they are, it's relevant to them. And that can be very powerful. And again, you can do this with both segmented, smaller audiences as well as large audiences. So that's a great one to test, the call out hook. The second one I recommend you guys test is the bold statement hook. And by the way, these are in no particular order. They're all individually really good. The bold statement hook. So you want to state like a strong opinion or a fact, or hopefully both, that makes people stop and really think for a second. And it could be anything related to your product or service or industry or what's important to your ideal customers and clients. So you could say something like, this is why 80% of entrepreneurs fail in their first year, or whatever the case may be. I'm just giving a random one, but something that's like a pretty bold statement, but it has to align with your ideal audience. It has to be important to them, but a strong opinion can very often work as an effective hook. Make sure you're not clickbaiting and doing something that's going to tick people off. Make sure that you can back that up with, what's behind that opinion and why. But that's something that I really like to run and has worked well in various situations. Hook number 3 is probably my favorite one and the one that I use the most, and that is the question hook. So asking a question, the reason I like this so much is whether you listen to somebody say it in a video or even you read it like from a headline. When you read something as a question, typically you at least subconsciously kind of internalize it a little bit because it's phrased as a question. Let me just give you a random example. Let's say you had a headline that was like, let's say you were in fashion e-commerce and you had a headline that says something like, here's the one thing your closet is missing this summer. Okay, that's stated as a non-question. Not bad. But instead of saying that, what if you just said, is this the one thing your closet is missing this summer? Just reading that, you're going to internalize that and think, well, is it? I kind of need to see what it is, because it's a question. So sometimes a question, even a non-question, can sometimes be made better just by putting a question mark at the end. Other times I will, put in specific questions because they're very relevant to the audience. Even something like in the Facebook ad world, are you tired of struggling with your Facebook ads? Doing questions can help pull the audience in because it's about them and it makes them think, even if it's subconsciously. So again, that's one of my favorite hooks. I probably use that more often than any of these others, but I do like all of these. Hook number 4 is the what if hook. I really like this because it can really spark somebody's imagination, their curiosity, and that can be a very good thing. So for example, let me just give a random one that I thought of. What if you could lose weight and still love what you eat and not have to eat like a rabbit? Okay, not have to eat carrots and that's it. Like, what if you could do this? And what I like even more is, what if you could, and then you give a benefit of your product or service. And then what makes it even stronger, in my opinion, is also avoiding something as well. So what if you could do this without that? What if you could run Facebook ads without a huge budget? So we're mentioning the benefit as well as maybe talking about what some people think a negative could be and eliminating that. So that what if hook I really like. Obviously, there's zillions of different ways to apply that. It depends on your product or service and stuff like that. But that can be a really powerful hook. And then last, but certainly not least, hook number 5 is a pattern interrupt hook. It's usually visual, but this is something that can be really powerful because you've got to find a way, again, to disrupt the scrollers, people scrolling like crazy, just scrolling past your ad, not even paying attention. So sometimes that's going to be a really compelling picture, an image in your ad, or a thumbnail if it's a video. What a lot of people do is they do videos and images that are similar to other things they see on Facebook and Instagram. Well, guess what? That typically doesn't stand out very well, does it? Because people are used to seeing that. Try doing something completely different. Try popping some different colors in there. Be creative with it. Now, I don't recommend this, but I did want to mention it because it's something I did once that did really well. I actually did a video ad once that was upside down on purpose. When's the last time you've seen a video that was upside down? Probably either never or almost never. And I actually did it for a reason. I explained in the video why it's upside down, because a lot of people market upside down in a not very good way. So it made sense. It wasn't just random. And it really got people's attention. I'll tell you that. Now, I'm not telling you to go do an upside down video, because if people don't listen to what you're saying, they're just going to think you screwed up, and that may not be good. But in my situation, it actually worked really well. So think of something you can do in the image, in the thumbnail, or in your video that stands out and looks different to what people are used to seeing. And then briefly, just a couple tips. How can you come up with some of your own hooks? One of the best ways to do that is to think about the questions, frequently asked questions you get, or even complaints that you might get from your customers or clients. That's where some amazing hooks can come from. And also, you can test multiple hooks against each other. Obviously, you just want one variable in your testing, but you can test multiple hooks, use the same offer, the same landing page, same creative, but just the hook is different. And you can try and find what works best. But looking at your comments, your complaints, your emails, the questions you get from your clients and customers can be a great place to find some great potential hooks that you could use. So in summary, the hook is sometimes the difference between failure and success, or between being ignored and somebody actually clicking on your ad and paying attention, or even noticing it in the first place. So try these different hooks out, make them your own, be creative. Remember, if you don't grab somebody in the first couple seconds of seeing your ad or first few seconds of your video, it's probably going to be an issue. And as always, just a reminder, it's always important to point out that every business is unique. Results can vary. There's no guaranteed outcomes. So always keep that in mind. So, my friends, I hope that was helpful. Lots of value here. Make sure you don't just listen, but you also execute and try some of this stuff. Of course, if you have questions or you get stuck, let me know. philgrahamdigital.com, or you can DM me on Instagram at philgrahamdigital. Otherwise, episode 421 is in the books. Thank you guys so much for being here. As usual, we'll have another great episode next week, and I will talk to you then. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast. Please remember to subscribe and share this with all your friends. For show notes, more tips, and to learn more about Phil, please visit philgrahamdigital.com/podcast.